Hi, and welcome to this month's Cigar Professor Live Herf. And thank you for joining us this evening for what I hope to be a phenomenally good stick. As you recall, this pack, we're looking at the Lot 23. Last month we did the Connecticut. Tonight we're doing the Sun-Grown, and next month we are going to the Maduro. We're doing it in the Gordito size, which is a 4.5 by 60. And Topher is not here. So it looks like I'm running the show again. He is off doing some politicking or something along those lines. As usual, just the normal crybaby. But look, our faithful professor, who has never missed a single show, which I cannot even confess that I even come close to that category, he has made the extra effort and he's got into the show early to make sure that we start this show off with a bang. So let me bring him in this evening. Hey, Professor Omar, how are you?
Good, Dames. What's happening, bros?
Well, I'm just looking forward to this stick. I've just got a stock of Perdomo cigars in from Perdomo today. So it was like a kid in a candy store unpacking a box of cigars. That was quite the expensive investment, but yes, the government doesn't want to miss out on its taxes, that's for sure.
Let's not talk about the government because the camera gets real ugly real quick. But you're right.
Hey,
you're right.
Steve, thanks for joining us. And I can see Stu's in here tonight as well. Hey, Stu, how are you? If you're watching us tonight, drop a comment in. We're also live streaming again this month on Rumble. So I'm not sure if the comments from Rumble are connected through, but if you want to comment, you can either find us on Facebook or on YouTube under Cigar Professor. So, and Daniel has joined us this evening as well. Evening, Daniel. And Tony. Hi, Tony. How are you?
Hey, Daniel and Tony. Let's get ready.
Alrighty.
Now we are on.
So last month was the Connecticut. Connecticut's are generally regarded as one of the lighter, smoother, creamier ends of the cigar market. Not always, but more often than not. And everybody knows that the Maduros are the heavier, richer, deeper bodied, and the Sun-Growns sort of tend to fall somewhere in between. I do personally believe they are closer to the Maduro than the Connecticut, so it's not like dead center. It's sort of in between, but closer to a Maduro. But one thing I definitely find more often than not with a Sun-Grown is you end up getting a little bit more of a spice note out of it, a little bit more body compared to a Connecticut. So it'll be interesting to see if this cigar lives up to that, reputation of Sun-Growns tonight. It is a Nicaraguan Puro from one of Perdomo's plantations. It is a Cuban seed Nicaraguan grown tobacco, and they grow the binder, the wrapper, and the filler on their own plantations in Nicaragua. So, and needless to say, Lot 23 is where it comes from. Omar's beating me to it, and I see there, Omar, you're lighting up with a cedar spill.
Absolutely gorgeous light up, bros. Gorgeous, gorgeous, gorgeous. Wow. I don't
know whether the people on the screen can really see it, but I'm about the tip of my flame is a good inch away from my cigar, and I'm just letting the projected heat from the lighter just toast my cigar nice and slowly. Last thing you want to do on a cigar is absolutely cook the daylights out of it on light up.
Yeah.
I mean, it will settle down, but you'll have a few minutes of some pretty harshness to it.
And more likely to have problems with the cigars as well.
That's a good light up. Oh, wow. Sweet almonds right off the cuff. There's a little bit of black pepper in there as well. It looks like Omar has frozen. Oh no, you haven't frozen. You're just contemplating the complexity of this cigar's light up, eh?
Mm. What I was thinking, what I was going to say before we had a different conversation. I mean, obviously you're a bigger fan of Perdomo than I am, and but Perdomo are certainly one of my favorite cigar brand or house or rollers or whatever you want to call them, and it just because simply someone to have that effort into the whole, from cultivation to doing sufficient amount of technological growth. When I say technological growth, from the way Nick goes above and beyond to work on the drawers, and the way they cultivate the tobacco, the aging process, and all that. It's quite profound. It's basically better than the most of the other houses that I know of. So we appreciate that. But I've always been a fan of Lot 23. I know we have had different, champagne. We have the 20 years, 30 years, ESV. You're a massive fan of, but I've always been a fan of Lot 23. I think it's such an underrated stick. It doesn't get a lot of praise from even Perdomo. They don't much sort of talk about it or brag about it. But I think particularly, I mean, we have done the Connecticut. This is sun grown, and we, hopefully we're going to do next month Maduro. I think for a complexity perspective, and not many people like transition, by the way, now, which I do, I appreciate, right? From complexity and the transitions, this is absolutely phenomenal. What we got here is the light up is I had a light spiciness come through at the beginning, which comes off a cedary, cinnamon type of bakery notes. And I think it has settled down a little bit since.
Yep.
What are you getting?
Well, look, my first puff was definitely an almond-like nuttiness. I wouldn't definitely say it was specifically almonds. There was definitely some black pepper there on the light up, as well as just some general sweetness that wasn't anything specific, but just this sort of really nice, sweetness to, not sugar-like, but sort of almost a honey nougat sort of sweetness to it.
And I would say, because we have completely different method of lighting up cigar, this particular one, so maybe different environment, but I didn't use any of the other flame method except the cedar. So I just used a little bit of cedar, and I think it's slightly different because cedar becomes part of that initial light up as well as you're drawing into the cedar. So I do get the nuttiness. So I was just starting to get that nuttiness. I don't know I can't really say if it's almond or not, but there's a nuttiness to it. And there's a sweetness to it. There's a maple like sweetness to it. If I would call that very mapley light.
It's definitely got that baked spice note now that initial that pepper's died down. It's actually quite spicy on the lips too.
Yeah, you're very spicy.
There's another note in there that hasn't quite defined itself yet, but I'm sure as we go along it will come out. There's definitely a cedar note in there for me, even though I lit up with a torch. So I think the fact that you're saying that there's a cedar note there is also part of that cigar.
Yeah.
Daniel chimed in and said that he was getting a white pepper and pistachio. I differentiate the peppers based on the mouthfeel that I was getting.
For me, it's definitely black pepper. I feel that it's black pepper. I do see where Danny coming from the pistachio part, because when the pistachios have this burnness to them. When pistachio's got a burnness to them, like a slightly burned or it's been baked. it's got that burntness to a nut, which could be pistachio. It's definitely not any of the, but it's more like pistachio / hazelnut.
Yeah. I sort of, I mean, even Stu reckons he's got that nougat note. You know how you get that nougat and it's got the nuts in it, and like sometimes it's like a honey nougat and nuts.
Yeah.
I was definitely getting those vibes. So beautiful startup. Beautiful.
Absolutely beautiful.
So,
Makes you think
how's your
about.
week been?
Yeah, very good, James. Very good. Short week. Anzac Day. It's been good.
Seems like we keep having public holidays every time we turn around at the moment.
Yeah, it's a little bit good, Alan.
I think we've had 3 public holidays in 1 month. I think it was, wasn't it?
Yeah.
3 weeks in a row. It almost felt like it.
I don't think it's in Queensland. It's New South Wales, and perhaps maybe Tasmania, but definitely not.
I don't think Victoria had Anzac Day holiday. I'm not sure which states had it. I believe Canberra had it as well.
Perhaps Tasmania, but I think definitely us and Canberra does have it.
Great smoke production.
Yes. It's
interesting on the retro. It's almost got a musky floral on the retro.
Mm-hmm. The foot smoke is actually far more softer than you can imagine.
Mm.
And particularly for a sun-grown, it's got a very soft, Connecticut-like foot smoke.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. Actually, I've got, I believe, in my own personal stash, not this size. I think it's just the Robusto size. I think I've got a few of the 23s that have been sitting in there since 2018, 2019, something like that.
Wow.
Not many, like, just like three, maybe 4 of each.
Would that be Connecticut?
Connecticut, sun-grown, and Maduro.
Wow. It's always good to do a comparison.
Oh, we might do that one day.
Wow. There's a slight tang coming through that, James. I don't know if you are up to where I am, but there's like a slight tang. It's almost remind me of a dryer. It's like you have a marmalade and you dried it up. It's got no moistness left in it, and it's like peely.
Yeah. I can.
Yeah.
Maybe that was that note that I was picking up earlier that I was hoping I could.
Yeah.
It would sort of become a little bit clearer as it goes on, but I can see that tang. I can't quite identify what it is, but definitely, yeah, there is that tang there.
And it's a drier tang. Very similar to marmalade, but more drier version of that. Wow. I can almost say it's yuzu type of tang. Have you tried yuzu?
Yeah. That's it.
It's a very yuzu, yeah.
Yep. Yeah, it's not a common citrus flavor that we're used to in Australia, but now that you mention it, yeah, that's exactly what I was trying to find. Because yeah, as you said, it was you were heading down the marmalade. I could tell it was sour, but it was definitely not a lemon either. So
yeah, it's very yuzu-like, very soft. I'm actually loving it. It's beautiful.
Gorgeous stick, absolutely gorgeous.
Stick, man, what a stick.
Well, we started on the interview that I did with Nick at the last show, and we stopped partway through.
Yeah.
Now, I have the video here to recommence. The question's going to be whether I can actually fast forward from the beginning. So if I can actually jump forward to where I think we're about halfway through that interview.
Yeah,
I
we're about
will play. We'll get that playing now. Otherwise, what I will do. Hang on. Oh, hang on. Yep, here we go. How long does the interview go for? It goes for 20 minutes. So I think we'll get it. I'll get it just before the halfway mark, and we'll just see if that's where we were.
Factories that don't take that responsibility, shame on them.
So, just thinking about cigar brands outside of Perdomo, if you were to have to smoke a cigar outside of your own brand, is there any particular brand that you generally would lean towards going yourself?
Nothing in particular, but I will tell you I'm one of the few cigar makers that do, or at least admit, I smoke everybody's cigars. I don't understand how all these guys say I only smoke my own cigar. My favorite cigar is definitely Perdomo because I know what we do with it, but I smoke everyone's cigar. And if you ask me what my favorite would be, it would be no doubt any Nicaraguan cigar. But we do a lot of things that are different than some, and everybody's got their little touches and attributes that they do to make a cigar. But I couldn't tell you any one brand, but I do love Nicaraguan tobacco the best. In my personal opinion, it's the best tobacco in the world, bar none.
So, given the fact that you are someone who is quite eclectic in smoking outside of your own brand, is there any particular brand or person or tobacco company outside of Perdomo that has been a significant influence in the way that you've learnt and perceived things?
No, because I learned with my father, but I have a lot of respect for a lot of guys out there in the industry, right? I was blessed. I came from generations of cigar makers, and I learned from them, and I learned from our inside people. Sarah Gonzalez, unfortunately, God rest her soul. Aristis Garcia, 98 years old, still working with the company. I learned from true masters inside. And I think that's what propelled our company to grow so quickly in a little over 3 decades.
So I'm just going to pause it there.
Mm.
One of the other things that I like about Steve Sarker is that he also smokes a lot of other people's cigars as well to see what's going on. And I think that that's one of the unique qualities that you see in a lot of these good brands that are quite appealing to everybody, is that these cigar makers do look at what's out there on the market and get an understanding for what the market is demanding, what the market wants, and where the market's going, and definitely strive to produce a product that their clients want. Now, while we're watching that bit, Dan Turner threw in a good question. I don't know if I can pull this. No, I'm not going to. I'm scared I'll mess it up. I'm only a novice driving these things. But it just says, hi guys, just wondering if you think it's best to brush your teeth prior to lighting up. What's your procedure for ensuring a cigar is most flavorful? Absolutely cracker question there, Daniel. I try not personally to brush my teeth before a cigar or have anything that's going to be a strong taste in my mouth, other than something that I think will be complementary to that cigar at the time. So like if I might have a coffee with a morning cigar. I might be drinking my coffee before I light up with the cigar, but I definitely want to pair those two flavors together. If you were to brush your teeth before having a cigar, I'd probably sort of wait 20, 30 minutes, till that toothpaste flavor, mint fresh breath flavor has dissipated from your mouth, because it's definitely not what I would see as a complementary flavor to a lot of cigars that you want to be tasting. You sort of want to have a fairly clean palate with no real other foreign tastes there when you're having a cigar. How about you, Omar? You want to add anything to that?
No, definitely, I agree. I think it's probably the last thing you want to do. I think it's don't harm in gargling, and just get, if you just had a meal or something, you can just gargle and sort of rinse your mouth, and after that. But I think also not only that, but having a very spicy meal, something with a very dominant flavors, can also impact cigar experience. Not to say it's a bad thing, but then having a beverage such as a sparkling water or black tea, or even a pour over coffee could be a very good choice, just to have that palate cleanse
Yeah.
before starting a cigar. But definitely not brushing for sure. You can brush
Yeah.
without the toothpaste. That's fine.
Yeah.
You brush it without toothpaste, no problems. But as Damo said, when you add something, a layer of profile of strong flavors, it perhaps is not the best idea before the cigar.
And then also part two to Dan's question is the procedure for ensuring a cigar is at its most flavorful. And one of the things that I've learned through my years of teaching coffee tasting and sensory skills and things like that, flavor is quite the subjective thing, but there are a lot of good rules of thumb that are good starting points that you can experiment with. And at the end of the day, when it comes down to cigar smoking, it's about what you enjoy and how you enjoy it. And
That's
it
right.
will require a bit of experimentation, a little bit of trial and error, and you tend to learn the things that you like and the things that you don't like, and you do it the way that you want to do it. To a certain degree, there are not a lot of right and wrongs within cigar smoking. There's definitely etiquette, but outside of that, it's whatever makes the experience good for you. Now, interestingly enough, for me, one of the things that I don't like is if I have a cigar in the evening, like now, I don't like the taste that is still in my mouth the following morning from an evening cigar. So when I have an evening cigar, I will normally brush my teeth a little while after I finish that cigar and I've packed up and whatnot. So I'll often use a mouthwash, usually a peroxide based mouthwash, hydrogen peroxide based mouthwash, to cleanse my palate and to clean that residual smoke out of my palate, so that I don't get that morning after cigar smoke, stale cigar smoke taste in the first thing in the morning when I wake up. But that's just me personally. I know other guys that like that taste. I do find that my sense of taste is a little bit more sensitive than other people's, and in the morning I just find that as a sort of like a dry, bitter, unpleasant note for first thing in the morning. How about you, Omar?
I just heard a gay gentleman talking about their softness and intricate behavior. So that's what I've just heard. I didn't know what you said. How could a man not be happy with the cigar flavor? I'll never not have a cigar flavor in my mouth.
I like the cigar flavor while I'm smoking it, and for the little while after you're finished. But it's the stale flavor the next morning that I don't like.
I live with that flavors. I've always lived with it.
Of course you do. Yes, because
Now,
you wake up with the cigar burnt out in your mouth.
that's it. But I do agree with you. I think it is probably an idea if you're not a regular multiple cigar smoking person a day, then it's probably a good idea to use peroxide type of thing just before you go to bed. I think it's a great idea.
Now, as far as getting the most flavor out of the cigar, smoking a cigar is like a bit of an exotic dance. You're puffing it just enough to keep it alight, but not so much as to have it burning, screaming hot. And that's where you're going to find that magic flavor spot in a cigar.
Yeah.
You sort of got to try and control yourself. And all of us have had the situation, and even on the show, when we've been really into a cigar and it's been tasting really, really good, and we just can't help but keep puffing because we're loving the flavor, but then we're smoking it too quickly. So what the idea of getting the best flavor out of a cigar is to basically burn the tobacco leaf at a very, very low temperature that vaporizes and volatilizes all those flavors into the smoke without actually scorching or burning them. And so you sort of want that cherry in your cigar to be barely smoldering at as low a temperature as possible to actually get a good, consistent burn. Now, you can go the other way and go too slow on the smoking and not enough, and it doesn't burn evenly, and it's almost going out, and you don't get good smoke production. The flavor will be unbalanced because of it. But it is something that you will learn as you have more and more cigars. And the other thing is too, it is also preferential. So, there are some guys that like to smoke ridiculously slow, and then other guys that like to smoke really, really fast, and that's just how they enjoy the cigars. And there's nothing right or wrong about either way. At the end of the day, it just comes down to, are you enjoying it, and to, make sure you're doing it the way that you enjoy the most. But when we get a lot of these flavors out of the cigars, it's because we're smoking them slowly. We're trying to control our puffing on the cigar as well, so not drawing as hard and fast as possible, but just nice and slow and steady. And then also just the light up. You saw me lighting up at the start of this show, very slow. The tip of the flame was an inch away from my cigar, slowly toasting it, slowly, until it was all evenly charred before I started puffing on it, to just try and warm that tobacco up without burning it or making it harsh.
The other thing, Dame's also with the profile of flavors. I think the hardest thing for us humans to realize that what we smell or what we taste is not always the same as what the other person is smelling and tasting. We have very complex palates, and we have very complex sense of sensory systems. But in order to improve that, I think there's a whole lot of different sets of so sampler little flavor vials or whatever you want to call them. I think with the coffee tasting we do it. It's just to improve and the distinguish and the separation of the smells. Yeah. And when you have a cigar, as long as you have some form of beverage, such as sparkling water, for example, to have your palate as clean as possible, so you can enjoy and do justice with the. There's absolutely, as Damo said, there's no right or wrong. You can do it fast, you can do it slow, but you would certainly compromise the flavor if you smoke it too fast. You burn it enough for the flavors become harsher and not as palatable, if that's a word.
Yep, absolutely. All right, well, we've answered that question, but if you've got any more questions there, please feel free to just chime in and ask the questions, but I'm going to hit play on this interview. And one of the things that has been changing around the world is obviously the attitude towards nicotine and tobacco products. Have you noticed any particular trends in different markets outside of the USA with your brand?
Well, we've seen incredible growth in most of the markets that we have, and more growth for not only because people are looking for quality products, right? Second thing is WHO, American Medical Association are all talking about the attributes of nicotine. It's like anything. You can't abuse anything. Protein is phenomenal for the body, but you can't eat 25 steaks, right? When you tell me the average guy smokes 2 cigars a month, the nicotine levels he's getting are probably too slim, because nicotine helps cognizant help for the brain. It helps against prostate cancer. I mean, there are a lot of things that nicotine has great attributes to. So, we're starting to see all these different changes in the medical world, right? Where they've told us for years this was great, now it's bad. Wheat was great for you. Bread is great for you. Pasta is great for you. It's horrible for you. Meat is terrible for you. Salt is bad for you. It's good for you now.
Yeah.
Everything is changing. And there's study after study after study that shows tobacco petals are destroying cancer cells. What's the government going to say? Tobacco kills cancer? They've been fooling us for years, and people have to be smart about it too. Anything in excess will kill you. But if you do things right, you can enjoy your life. And I really believe that cigars are one of the most enjoyable, and outside of some countries, one of the most affordable things people can savor and enjoy, and it brings people together. Let me tell you, if politicians all got together and smoked cigars, we'd have a hell of a lot better world today.
Actually, I'm glad you said that, because that's actually something I've said numerous times on our show. I think if we made it mandatory that politicians, when they're sitting in the Parliament discussing legislation, that if they actually had a cigar in their hands and had to be partway through it before they open their mouth, we'd probably get a lot more sense out of the government.
100%, but some people are too dumb to figure that out. But you're 100% right.
So with what you're seeing with regards to the growth of the cigar industry, what do you perceive as the current challenges to the premium cigar industry as a whole?
There's only one challenge. It's politicians who are going to tell you how you should live and so on and so on. But we're hoping that people around the world start getting smart to this stuff and saying, hey, you know what? It's my body. I'll do whatever the hell I want. It's my choice. It's a legal product. I'm not killing anybody. I'm not killing something. I'm doing something that I want to do.
Yeah.
And I have every right to do it. And I believe people have the right, if they want to eat potato chips, they're not healthy for you, but they can eat them. If people want to eat whatever they want or savor whatever they want, they can. It's their right to do it. And if someone enjoys a fine cigar, they should be able to do it without the government taxing them into oblivion, restricting them or regulating them, and killing business. Because believe me, people that sell cigars, they're business people. Okay? And when you hurt cigars sales, you hurt the economy with lack of tax revenue that they could get. Instead of trying to tax you out of business, they could actually tax and have normal tax and actually build in more money. The liquor industry gets hurt. The coffee industry gets hurt. The food industry gets hurt. Okay? Because all the things we do to savor cigars is we enjoy a fine adult beverage, whether it be alcoholic or non-alcoholic. We enjoy good meals. Less desserts are ordered. Less after dinner drinks are ordered. It's a domino effect that the stupid governments around the world that are idiotic have no clue on what the cigar industry does across the board.
So given that you've seen this hostility from governments around the world towards tobacco products, for people who are not from the USA, what's the environment from the government, from your perspective, with the government towards tobacco in America like at the moment?
Well, it's been very good since we've had this new administration. The Trump administration is very pro-business, so we've been pretty happy so far. There's been a lot of defeats on regulation and so on in America. We're really happy about that, but there's some battles we lose too, especially in a lot of left-wing states like California, Washington State, where you have to register and do all this stuff, which is really anti-American, in my personal opinion, because we're the land of the free. But our biggest adversary today worldwide is definitely boneheaded politicians who have no clue what they're talking about and just want to tax and spend into oblivion regardless of what businesses is. And it's frustrating for all of us for that.
I'm just going to pause that there and just say that, I had a fair bit of time with Nick and the team at Perdomo outside of this interview the day that I was there, and I saw in the comments that a few of you have said libertarian, and I would definitely say that there are definitely some libertarian philosophies with Nick and the team at Perdomo, and I would say that generally speaking, in the cigar community in America, that is definitely the ethos is, don't tread on me, get off my back, leave me alone, is sort of that's their political framework that they look at and they have in life. But the interesting thing is that only last week they had a bit of a win in the American tobacco industry. They've won a court case against the government regulating premium cigars. And they had to go away and create a definition of premium cigars as a result of the claims that were being made in the court case. So, unfortunately, flavor-infused and machine mass-produced cigars have fallen out of that scope, but I don't think a lot of the premium cigar businesses are really affected by that, and a lot of the brick-and-mortar stores are not overly affected by that because the infused cigars and the machine roll cigars are such a small percentage of what they sell. Most of those cigars are the type of cigars that are sold in the gas stations over there, in the supermarkets and stuff like that. But basically now what the government has said what the courts have said to the government is, no, you cannot regulate a premium cigar the same way that you regulate cigarette and loose leaf tobacco. It is a separate product. And when I say loose leaf, I'm talking about the roll your own cigarette tobacco, rolly tobacco. And so it doesn't remove the power from the government to regulate premium cigars, but it does stop them from lumping them into the same category. So that does mean now that if they want to regulate cigars, they actually now have to go away and, I guess, to a certain degree, do a bit of research and have justification for the measures that they wish to implement now, rather than just piggybacking off the health data that applies to cigarettes and cigarette smokers. And oh no, I'm still lit. I thought I'd gone out from gas bagging too much, but anyway, I'll keep this interview going. And on a lighter note, if you've got a seasoned cigar smoker who isn't new to cigars, but is struggling when they're coming to choose a cigar, one of yours, they might have a selection of your cigars in the humidor. What advice would you give to them as to how to choose which of your cigars to smoke? Like they'll open up their humidor and they've got, some Lot 23s, some 10th anniversaries, some 20th anniversaries. They've got a selection of Connecticut, Sun-Grown and Maduro. What advice could you give to someone as a good rule of thumb of how to choose the right cigar for the right occasion?
Well, the first thing that I do is I always ask what they like, because everybody has a certain flavor characteristic. So Connecticut shade wrap cigars are always going to produce more of a creamy finish. A sun-grown wrapper is always going to produce more of a spicy, cinnamony type earthy finish, which is normal to that wrapper. And a Maduro wrapper like mine has a lot more sugar, oils. It's going to produce a lot more sweeter tobacco naturally. So depending what they like, what they drink, what they eat is what's going to tell them what's best. But the way to basically do it is, because taste is subjective, is they're going to have to try the brands, and I've always said, if you want to learn how to drink whiskey, you got to buy a bottle of whiskey. It's not about buying one or two cigars. You really got to go in head first and say, I'm going to buy at least 12 of this particular blend. I'm going to buy 12 of this particular blend. You need at least 12 of them. And a lot of people keep a journal and they say, you know what? I love this cigar. And they memorize it. And then they say, this cigar here didn't hit me perfectly like this particular cigar. And what they have to do is they have to dissect what they personally like. And I'm going to tell you something. It's a good thing. It's really a good thing. And it's worked good that way. You know what I mean? It's been a winner, and people can really kind of bespoke themselves to what they like to, where they like to be at, because flavor is subjective.
So I'll just pause that there. I know that you keep a bit of a journal when you're smoking cigars, Omar, don't you?
Yeah, all the new cigars. I was doing a written journal, with the little band, and then I would mark it. I would give it a number, and now I'm doing more digitally. I think they're both good. But I think what happens is, because memory is a funny thing,
Yeah.
So, okay, so what happened to the same cigar when I had it last time, for example? You can basically go back and be more specific, and it just I think I agree with Nick. If you don't do that, you kind of like guessing it. If you that is, if you're really a cigar smoker, and I think it's a wonderful idea.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think there's a few rules of thumb that are sort of commonly around the cigar industry that I was hoping Nick would allude to. But generally speaking, and earlier in the day, you start off with the lighter, creamier, softer cigars for first thing in the morning or earlier in the day with the coffee. And then as the day progresses, you go for a more bolder cigar. And generally the really thick, rich, heavy cigars, they're the sort of cigars you really want to have after a meal, whether it be after lunch or after dinner. Also, time frame is another thing to consider too, because generally speaking, the darker, thicker leaf tobaccos tend to burn slower than the lighter, thinner Connecticut style cigars. So if I've got a longer period of time, like you and I did last weekend when we were together, we had that nice Maduro cigar, and it was an 8.5 inch by 52, and I got 3 hours out of that stick. It was phenomenal. I mean, how much? What did you end up getting your burn time on that? Admittedly, you had
3.5.
interruptions. Had to 3.5 hours.
I mean, that's without the interruptions.
Yeah.
Because I think I smoke slightly slower than you do.
Mm. I'm into the second third now. That pepper note has died down for me.
Completely gone.
Yeah, it's still got the nuttiness there.
Mm. Mm.
Maybe a little bit of coffee and leather's come into the equation too now.
Let's try again. Look, I'm still getting that tang.
Yeah,
Tang is not leaving me.
yeah, that tang is still there for me too.
Yeah, the tang is there, and it's sweet. It's got a creaminess to it. It's very pleasant cigar. You know, those darker cedary, spicy things are gone.
Yeah, when I say coffee, it's giving me you don't know how I like quite a fermented or a natural filter coffee. I'm sort of getting that sort of, you know how those lighter roasts have got a bit of a sourness and fruitiness to them.
Yes.
That tang is sort of giving me those vibes of that filter like coffee.
Yes.
So
Yes. Yeah. Look, I would. Sorry, you go.
Daniel just chimed in and said that he actually enjoys a Maduro with a morning coffee, but not a big one. And yeah, that's part of the equation too. Is choosing, you know, what size stick you want at what time of day for the amount of time that you've got and what mood you're in as well.
Look, I like to start my day with a good strong cigar, and I think I don't really follow that trajectory of having a lighter cigar in the morning versus not. I think, for example, tomorrow I'm going to be up for the markets at 4 a.m. By the time I'll leave the house at 4:30, I light up my cigar. And it doesn't really matter. I think it's ready to go, it's aged enough, it's happening. It just doesn't matter.
Yep. All right, let's keep kicking on with this interview.
All
and
right.
just the last question I've got on my list for today is that you mentioned that you're smoking a Maduro wrapper.
Mm-hmm.
And for a lot of people, particularly in Australia, who have never seen the operation of the tobacco industry, the cigar industry in particular, there's a lot of confusion as to how a Maduro wrapper is processed differently to a sun-grown or Connecticut to get that deep chocolate color in it. Are you able just to briefly tell us what the differences is that makes the Maduro wrapper the Maduro wrapper?
So the Maduro wrapper is usually on the top part of the plant. So even though it's the youngest leaf on the plant, because tobacco grows in offshoots, it has sun exposure its whole life. So all the leaves underneath are always shaded by other leaves. So when they're shaded, they're thinner. So Maduro means to ripen, actually. It means sweetness. The reason a lot of people assume that the wrappers are strong is because of their color. Oh, it's black, it's dark chocolate, it must be really heavy. Not necessarily. Now, they are thicker wrappers. They do have a lot of flavor, but they're also sweeter. So in fermentation, we have to ferment these tobaccos a lot longer than normal. And the reason is because of their texture. Like I said earlier, even though the youngest leaves on the plant, they do have the most texture because they've never been shaded by their brothers. They've always been getting all that sun, and that photosynthesis, what it does is thicker tobaccos, more lusher, a lot more oil, a lot more resin, and a lot more sugars naturally. So a lot of guys are what they're doing now is they're steaming wrappers. I've heard people that they color wrappers and all this stuff. Well, I guess if you do that, you're going to make the cigars taste brash and rough. But when I taste a Maduro wrapper, it's sweet. I taste the sweetness of it. But look, being vertically integrated, we grow our own tobacco, we do everything. So with that being said, we have a standard that we keep, and our standard is really our motto in our company is perfection is the gold, excellence is merely tolerated. We just believe in that. So the Maduro process takes longer. So in other words, a sun-grown wrapper can take about 36 to 42 months. from start to finish in aging, which is quite a long time. But a Maduro wrapper is always in the 60, 61, 62 months, depending on the region you're growing it in. But I think the consumer wins with that, and they really get to taste a nice tobacco core of sweetness when they smoke it.
Well, Nick, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. Those were excellent questions.
Viewers in Australia will be greatly appreciative of all your answers and the time, and look forward to meeting with you again next time I'm in America.
100%. Thank you for coming. I
Thank
appreciate
you.
it. Thank you.
There we go. How good was
Yeah,
that?
that was a good interview. That was a very good interview. Good job.
That's actually my first ever interview.
Really?
So,
Hey,
yes.
speaking of interviews and all that stuff, think about today's show. How good is it? Without, like, why do you think it is?
I don't know. It's just going so smoothly.
Mm.
We've got great viewer interaction. We've got good number of viewers have tuned in and been watching the whole show.
Yeah.
So, but what I will do is, because this interview has sort of been stop-started through the last show and this show, what I will do over the course of the next week is I will upload that video as its own standalone file to our Rumble and our YouTube, and then I'll also post a link on our Facebook to the YouTube one, so that if people want to sit down and rewatch that interview in its entirety, start to finish, without the stopping and starting and all of our commentary to it, it will be there for you guys to be able to enjoy that. How are you going with your cigar?
Man, very good, actually. I was saying to you, that whole cedar / spice is gone.
Mm-hmm.
All I've left with tang, sweetness, and I think, I mean, you call it coffee, but to me, it might be the molasses type of sweetness. The maple turn into more darker sort of sweetness. That's what I've got right now.
Yeah, it is definitely got a beautiful, absolutely gorgeous sweetness to it.
Oh man, yeah.
The finish for me is definitely that coffee, maybe even a little bit of a dry cacao note as well.
Yeah. Man, I could say white chocolate. I don't know. It's so light and it's so airy sweetness to it. It's beautiful.
Thank you, Tony. One of the people I did try to very, very hard to try and tee up an interview when I was in America was with Steve Sarker as well. He was someone that we've smoked some of his cigars. Next time I go to the States, maybe I can get an interview with him and maybe meet up with some of the other people in the industry whose cigars we have also smoked, and get some other interviews taking place for future shows. I saw Daniel made the comment that we should try and convince Nick to come to Australia. I don't think he'd want to come here on the basis that the amount of tax that would have to be paid for him to bring his own cigars with him to smoke. I mean, I think the border entry thing is that you're only allowed to bring, I think, 2 cigars with you into the country for personal use. Actually, I got a invoice for the shipment of cigars this week for the ones that arrived today, and I'm thinking of sending a copy of it to Nick, so because he was proudly rebuking the Australian government when over there to the staff and the people in the cigar lounge how ludicrous the prices are on our tobacco tax, and he asked how much it was, and that was before we've been hit with the last 2 lots of tax increases as well. So I thought I'd send him that. He'll probably print it out as a show and tell how ridiculously expensive the tobacco tax is.
Seriously.
I see your ash has dropped. Mine's still hanging on amazingly. I've been expecting it to drop any minute. I've been sort of trying to hover it above my ashtray so that it doesn't fall off. Did you notice any flavor change when it dropped?
Yeah, that's when I become more sweeter.
Mm-hmm.
That's right. Before you lose that, lost that cedary and spiciness to it.
I'm half tempted just to drop my ash to see if that happens now. Actually, I will. I'll ever so gently. So here's an interesting tip. I don't know if people will be able to see it, but if you ever want to take the ash off your cigar, you don't bang it and you don't snub it. What you do is you touch the edge of your ash against the inside edge of the ashtray, and you actually roll your cigar.
Yeah.
And hang on, it's a bit hard to do it on screen, but you just basically roll it around like that. It falls off in the ashtray, and you get a beautiful clean break, and don't make a big mess everywhere. So I've noticed a bit more smoke production since the ash has gone up.
Yeah.
Maybe a little smoother.
Yeah, that's exactly where it's at, you know. Much smoother. Much like so much smoother. And I've got, it's like sweet, man. It's like so sweet.
Just trying to pick that sweetness. There's still something there that I can't quite put my finger on yet. I did have my finger resting in the one spot for the whole of that smoke until I moved the ash, and where my finger has been, the moisture from my fingers caused just a tiny little bit of a split in the outer wrapper, but nothing critical. Perhaps if I'd have not been holding it the same way for so long, it probably wouldn't have done.
I'm a little bit surprised for a sun-grown to be so sweet.
That being said, what was it? Was it a lot 23 that we had all those years ago at your place? That was, you remember I got a phone call from, I can't remember, Katrina or my wife or my kid or something. I had to drop everything, run and go and pick them up or drop them off to an appointment they'd forgotten about, and then bring them back again. I came back and relit. I can't remember. I know it was a Perdomo sun-grown cigar. I know it was an ESV. ESV sun-grown, and that was a ridiculously good sweet smoke as well. Yeah. And I don't quote me on this, but I'm pretty certain that the farm that the ESV tobacco was coming from is the same farm that the Lot 23 was coming from.
That I don't know, but I think it's definitely sweeter than the ESV. ESV was more complex, as a lot more complex profile to it. But this is very sweet.
There is that tang there, though, isn't it? It's not Cuban-like, but it's sort of in the same sort of style of, like when you talk about a Cuban tang, the tang that you're getting in this cigar is the sort of thing that we're talking about. It's different, but it's the same sort of concept, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and it's reducing some big smokes there, man. Yeah, that's called a user error.
Well, look, it's also one of the other things that just shows that, I mean, I know it was my finger and the humidity, moisture from my finger on the cigar. And that's one of the things that does cause cigars to split, like when you've got them in your humidor, if they start pulling a little bit too much humidity, a bit too much moisture, they will tend to swell and split. So that's one of the tricks of keeping. And look, it's going to happen to everybody. I've had cigars split. It's inevitable. I've had cigars mold. The one thing I have not had that I've been very pedantic in making sure I manage is I haven't had any tobacco beetle. You generally get that more often than not with Cuban cigars.
Yes,
and the reason being is a lot of the New World cigars, they actually freeze their cigars as part of their processing. So once they've actually made the cigar, they'll actually put it into a freezer and freeze it down to about -18, -20 degrees centigrade and hold it at that temperature for a period of time. and that
Yeah.
actually kills the eggs of the tobacco beetle. So it's considerably less likely that you're actually going to get tobacco beetle from a cigar that's been frozen. I have heard of some people who buy cigars that aren't treated that way. They'll actually carefully bag them, and you've got to do it carefully so you don't want frost and freezer burn on your cigars, but they'll actually freeze the cigars themselves as their own treatment before putting them in their collection to prevent that. But that's one of the best reasons you should leave your cigars in the cellophane wrapper, because what happens is the tobacco beetle can eat its way out of the cellophane wrapper, but usually they die after ingesting the cellophane. So they'll eat their way through one, but they generally won't eat their way into another cigar. So you can usually limit the damage to just the cigars where the tobacco beetle has hatched if all of your cigars are in cellophane.
Yeah, I agree.
No, yeah, you're right, Daniel. It's almost like a caramelized citrus, like when you as Omar was saying before, sort of almost like a marmalade-y, sort of cooked down citrusy rind that's sort of more sugary, a little bit toasty, burnt note there to it. But this, this cigar is going really, really well for me.
Really well. It's going really well, man.
Mm. So, have you got any trips heading overseas at any time in the future?
I had a mate call me the other day. You know, those mates said, I want to fly you to Thailand. I said, nah, man. It's not a cigar smoking country. Doesn't tickle me. Nah, we should go. I said, nah, man. I mean, if we were to say Vietnam, they have some of the best humidors. I mean, sorry, the richest man in Vietnam, he owns a cigar shop, and it's one of the biggest collection of Cuban cigars in the world, and New World cigars. And I really want to visit that, but I was trying to get into. So that's in my bucket list now, to do Ho Chi Minh City, that cigar lounge, and I'm really keen to go and try that. And I've heard they have.
Where's that other one that you're quite partial to overseas? On
Look,
the 15th floor?
The cigar lounge.
Yeah.
So there's a lounge in Kuala Lumpur called Marinos on 57. It's on the 57th floor. It's all the Formula One drivers, celebrities, movie stars from Hollywood. They have their own humidors there, and it's gorgeous. It's on the 57th floor. It's an open, it's one to see. It's absolutely beautiful. So I had a bunch of cigars there, and I love it. But I think by far the best cigar lounge are in Geneva.
Okay.
I had some really good ones in London, Sahakians, and Bulgari Lounge in London is quite nice. But like Geneva takes the cake when it comes to cigar smoking. I was in Geneva and I walked out of my hotel, and I'm like, I just smell cigar. I'm like, what happened? You walk a couple more meters down, you smell more cigars. You walk more down a bit, you smell more cigars. Literally, I've not seen anyone smoking that many cigars ever, period, anywhere. And mind you, Atlanta has the highest amounts of cigar lounges anywhere in the United States. And the cigar culture was still not as good as what I saw in Geneva.
Mm-hmm.
It's amazing, absolutely amazing.
Well, Davidoff is headquartered in Geneva, isn't it?
Yeah, I went to Davidoff of Geneva, and it's absolutely gorgeous. Can't smoke there, unfortunately. They don't have a tasting room, but it's absolutely gorgeous.
Okay.
Absolutely gorgeous, yes.
You go to the head office of the cigar company and they don't have anywhere to smoke their cigars. Terrible.
Yeah. Yes, it is terrible. It is absolutely terrible. But the cigar lounges in Switzerland are absolutely beautiful. Probably the cheapest cigars in the world, along with Spain, Switzerland, and Ho Chi Minh City, which is in Vietnam.
Yep. interestingly enough, to our viewers, I had a friend who travelled to China on a business trip. I think it was the end of last year, early this year. Anyway, came back and he bought back two cigars for me from China, and asked he was there with a meeting a business person who's they have these. I don't know what they called. I'm not overly familiar with China, but you sort of, when you go to do business with China, you sort of have like this point of contact that then takes you around and introduces you and sort of acts as like the intermediary, translator, liaison sort of thing. Asked him, and that guy turned out to be a bit of a cigar aficionado over there, and gave him a couple of cigars from his own collection and brought them back. And I tell you what, I was pleasantly surprised.
They
I do I really want to smoke a cigar made in China? But it was wow. I mean, like if you actually look at how China has progressed with manufacturing things, no matter what it is, whether it be, tools or cars or, gizmos or whatever it is, they constantly improve and improve and improve, and then they get to the point where that quality of what they're producing is an acceptable global standard. And I tell you what, I don't think China is that far off being. I've actually smoked worse cigars in America than those Chinese cigars that we had together.
Man, I must admit, I was completely blown away. I thought it was going to be a shit experience, but it was really good.
Yeah,
I didn't expect it to be good, and it exceed all my expectations I had. I mean, it wasn't. I wouldn't say it was my Placencia or Perdomo or Davidoff's or none of that. But man, it was in a league of its own. It was very good.
And I think the reasoning behind that was, and this has just come from experience of tasting so many cigars, is that I think that they haven't yet. China is very much about mass production and getting product to market as quick as possible to generate sales and make money. They're very commerce-driven society, particularly from a business model, and I don't think they've quite got their heads around. And I know from friends of mine who are wine drinkers as well, the same is said about their wines over there. Like there's some reasonable wines over there that are probably better than some of the cheapest, nastiest wines you can get in Australia, but they're still not at the level of the high-end wines. And high-end wines take time. You cannot rush time. You cannot knock out even like with whiskey, you can't knock out a 15-year-old whiskey in 12 months. And I think the same, like when we heard in that interview with Nick, he's saying 66 months fermenting on the Maduro wrappers.
Yeah.
Like that's in the pilons. Like, the shortest that they do fermentation, I think, is around about 3 to 4 years on the Connecticut's. And then up to 5 to 6 years on the Maduro wrappers. And I think that concept of slow and just put it in a warehouse and just ferment it and just obviously got to maintain it and keep it all the conditions just right, but just to let it be there and do its thing for 6 years before you even bother turning it into a cigar it hasn't quite reached the cigar manufacturing culture over in China yet. So,
but if I compare it to a culture that is a couple of 100 years old or 150-year-old, would compare to they just started, man. It's absolutely phenomenal. It's just phenomenal. And what they have done with coffee is phenomenal. It's unbelievable.
I have had some coffees from China that's just amazing.
Yeah, it's unbelievable. Man, and I was really impressed if they've been only at it for 15, 20 years or maybe longer. I said 30 years. They have, I can't believe it. I can't believe what they have done in such a short period of time.
The thing that I find really encouraging about that cigar market in China is that they've actually finally decided to embrace doing their own thing rather than trying to produce fake Cubans, fake Monte Cristos, knockoff copies, which are terrible. They're actually trying to make a quality product, but rather than trying to pass it off for somebody else's, they're trying to do their own brand, their own marketing, their own thing. And I think that's actually what's working for them on that.
Well, like the world's fastest vehicle is currently a Chinese car that Nick Politis bought not long ago. It's the only car in Australia that he bought. So, man, they have gone, I don't know. I went to China 2018, 2019. There's the largest world commercial fair, business fair called Guangzhou Fair. Happens twice a year. And man, it actually blows you away. It blows you away. The transport system, the trains, it's like, wow, these people are going so far ahead.
Yeah, Steve mentions they do tea. I actually had the privilege when I was in China years back. The person that was taking us around to the factories and introducing us to the business people took us out one night to a traditional Chinese tea house. And the lady who was the host or the person making the tea for us apparently was this person who'd won competitions. They have competitions like we have barista competitions for making coffee. They have competitions for making tea.
That's right.
And it was amazing. Honestly, the best tea that I've had was at the hand of this person. The quality of the water, the temperature control, the quality of the tea leaf. So, they have the capacity to, appreciate and admire and recognize quality there. And I think that as they start to roll that same level of attitude and tenacity into their cigars, I think that, we're going to see some amazing things, in the next 5-10 years coming out of China with cigars.
Well, I would say this about tea. What they do to tea, it's far beyond what we do to a coffee. The intricacy involved in their teas is just phenomenal. The etiquette about it and what to do. And man, one of my teachers when I was doing traditional Chinese medicine, it's a thing. You have to be in the right headspace. You have to be, sitting down properly. It's the etiquette that goes into the tea making. It's just wow. They made a fine humor that they must appreciate cigars somewhat. Yeah, man.
It's actually quite interesting, Stu. So cigars have become quite this status symbol in the business culture in China. So when you're doing business meetings now, there's this whole thing about the person you're doing business with wants to impress you, and so they'll go and get some expensive cigars and have cigars with you and the more expensive the cigars they're giving you, it's sort of like a bit of a status symbol of how good they are as a businessman. And so that's it's quite an interesting little culture there around cigars and business and people who are successful in business are the ones that give out cigars to the people they're doing business with, and it's sort of they get, I guess, a social elevation as a result of that. They get a reputation. They're a very good, successful businessman. They're always giving out cigars to people, and good cigars.
Good cigars. Yeah. Where are you at, James?
I'm into the final third. It's dried out a little bit. The sweetness has died off now a bit for me. It's still there. Yeah. Not as predominant as it was in the first and second third.
Yeah.
Look, a bit more leather coming through.
Yeah, I can see leather. I think cedar and leather both are back, but
yeah,
for me, sweetness hasn't gone away, man.
Okay.
From start to finish, it is a very sweet cigar. It's almost as sweet as a Maduro.
Yeah, look, as I said, it hasn't gone, but it's just not as, for me, it's not as bold as it was for the first 2/3.
It's absolutely smoking as good as what it was at the beginning. Absolutely no harshness to it. It's got slight leather coming through, but man, it's got still a lot of sweetness to it.
Yeah.
I deliberately got, I let go of my ash, and it becomes so sweet after that again.
Well, according to Perdomo's website, it's about 5 years of aging on the tobacco in this particular cigar.
Yeah.
And I think that's one of the things that Perdomo definitely does that not all cigar manufacturers do, is just long age. They've got a long-term game plan. They're
Yeah.
planning productions 5-6 years in advance. They're growing tobacco today for cigars that they're going to be making in the 30s.
Correct.
So they're not growing tobacco for next year's production. They're growing tobacco at the moment. The tobacco they got for this year's production and next year's production and the following year's production, that's already grown. That's already fermented. That's already sitting in their warehouses aging.
Yeah. Phenomenal. Yeah, same.
Yeah, well, I don't know where Topher ended up going. He said that he had a political function relating to the Farah by-election, but he said he was hoping to get back and just probably join us a little bit late. But clearly, that's not going to be the case with this show tonight. That election must be coming up at some point soon. Now that we're about to clock over the new month.
Yeah.
So I saw that David Leinhelm had joined us in the show, but unfortunately he said that he was out regional. And I'm just scrolling through the comments. There it is. He's on the farm with poor internet. It's too cold outside and forgot to bring his stick with him. But the cigar professor stick that we're smoking tonight. But he enjoyed the interview.
Yeah.
I'm glad you could join us tonight, David. Actually, David's one of the other people that I know keeps a very good diary. He's got multiple diaries of every time he has a cigar, he keeps notes on it so that he, when he wants to go and buy a box of something or restock on some cigars for his humidor, he goes back through his notes and looks at what he wants to go based on how he scored them.
Yeah, good idea. Very good idea.
Oh, there we go. Stu's probably sitting out in the freezing cold. I know that where Stu is based, it gets cold, although I don't think it's too cold. Well, it's probably colder where he is at the moment than where we are at the moment. But it will be getting very, very cold in a few more months' time for him to be sitting out at this time of night enjoying a cigar, I can tell you.
Yeah.
He'll want to put in an outdoor fireplace, although I assume he probably has got an outdoor fireplace to keep warm by. I have lit my fireplace twice this year already. When we had that cold spell a couple of weeks ago, but unfortunately, that cold spell only lasted a few days.
How good is the weather these days, James? It's just absolutely good.
It's a beautiful time of year. It's cool enough in the mornings and the early afternoon, early evening to put a jacket on, but warm enough during the day to still have a t-shirt. Today I've just been wearing a vest. I've got a vest on. I really do like the that this time of year. This would be my idea of summer. So Stu says his fire's been burning for weeks. Actually, I think Stu told us once that he's got a what do they call them? Those wood-fired stoves that you cook on, like an Aga or an Essie or one of those wood-fire range. Although I noticed a couple of doors down from us, there's a young couple bought the house about a year or two ago, and it was one of those. It was like the worst house on the street. It's one of those houses you just assume they're going to knock down and rebuild, but stretch themselves to the absolute limit just to buy the place, and so they had to sort of make the place livable. And it had a fireplace in it, but it had been bricked up and sealed up and everything. But they went to the effort and knocked it all out so they could just an open fireplace, old-fashioned open fireplace. I've noticed them having it on a few occasions, but it's because it's an old rickety fibro place with no insulation. So
Yeah, they got to keep it warm.
got to keep warm. Yeah.
Yeah.
My goal is that I can get my next door neighbour and one or two other people on the street to have a wood fire as well. And then I can justify getting like 20 tons of wood dropped in my driveway. get a bulk discount on the wood, and then save me having to go and get it. Essie, there we go.
That's it.
That's what Stu's got.
Where's everyone with their cigar?
Well, I'm getting close to the business end, not far off.
Yeah.
Just start to get a little bit of heat coming through at the end of the draw. Still smokable. I've purged it a couple of times.
I got the standard habit. I start doing it almost at the middle of a cigar.
Okay.
Kind of into a cigar. It's just a habit, and I always come out.
I find personally I'm probably purging towards the end of the second third usually. So
yeah.
Oh, Daniel's running slow. Final third. He'll still be going when the show's finished.
Yeah.
This is definitely a really enjoyable stick.
Oh,
what are you drinking with yours tonight?
I had coconut water, and then I had this like little hydration drink.
Okay. Is it flavored yet?
Yeah, it's got a slight pineapple tinge to it, which goes well with it.
Now, tonight I've done a black tea.
Oh, nice.
And just for something else, dry ginger ale.
Crunch ale, yeah.
I just wanted something with a little bit of spice to it, just to pair off with the cigar tonight. And I thought, a ginger flavor would probably go well with the flavor profile ungrown.
Mm.
Did you see that the UK have brought in a tobacco ban? Well, I think it was last week. Basically, anyone born, I think it was 2009 onwards, cannot buy tobacco. Full stop.
Have they run it through the House of Commons?
I'm not sure. It's the legislation's definitely been drafted. Whether it's actually got through, not sure.
That's scary.
You almost got to think these days, if the government tells you you can't have it, you probably should. And if they tell you you should have it, you probably shouldn't. I think that's the best way to live life at the moment.
Yeah. Yeah, I can't believe they actually. Has it been actually been drafted and everything?
Yeah, well, they were talking on the news about it. Whether it's got through or not, I'm not sure. But wait and see.
Yeah, very sad.
I know they did that in New Zealand as well. There's a age restriction on tobacco over there.
But have they passed it through in NZ or not?
In New Zealand, it's law.
I
don't know what I'm not sure what the age is, but anyone born after a certain date can't buy any tobacco products or nicotine products in New Zealand.
That's fucked. That's absolutely fucked. That's screwed. That's screwed.
Well, you know what this is just going to do for England? They're just going to generate a black market like what's happened here. When you tell people they can't do something, then the whole thing just moves underground. Yeah, you're right, Steve. My understanding is the vape products are also going to be banned, but I could be mistaken on that. But they'll just go underground.
Just like anything else. Yeah, that's what I've heard as well.
Maybe when they change governments, when the the Ardern government got kicked out and the Conservatives got in, maybe they did renege on that.
Yeah, Alberta was revoked as well. And I don't think it will happen in the UK, dude.
Well, people just go across the channel into Europe, buy their cigars and come back.
Yeah. For the cigar, we'll be going at it for an hour and 20 minutes. This is phenomenal.
Nice slow burn.
Very nice.
Do you remember what we got on the one last month?
I think about an hour and 20.
Okay.
I think it was about an hour 15, 20. Same.
It'll be interesting to see if the Maduro burns slower.
Yeah, but the good thing is this is a better session. This what matters. That's what matters the most.
Yeah.
More smoother. It's better conversation. Cigars taste better. I don't know why.
The very first Perdomo I ever had was a 20th anniversary Maduro. And that was when I suddenly experienced the flavors that they tell you in a cigar. You know, I had some cigars prior to that, but most of them were just sort of the more mainstream, more generic daily smoke cigars, not the more premium end of the market. Then I had a friend of mine I was meeting up with in America who's also a cigar smoker, went to the cigar shop and said, oh, you know, I want to get something a little bit more special for my mate who's out from Australia, doesn't get good cigars there. What do you recommend? And the owner of the shop said, no, definitely these ones. And so he bought the Perdomo 20th anniversary Maduro for me. And wow, that was the first Perdomo I had. And that was what made me a Perdomo fan.
It's a very good cigar. Absolutely very good cigar.
And the first box of Perdomo cigars I bought myself, box of Perdomo Maduros in a Robusto. Back when tobacco tax was probably only about I think it was about $800-900 a kilo back then.
Yeah.
Well, Daniel, I guess, you know, there's that old saying, those who don't learn from history are destined to repeat it. And I just sort of think of all the days of the Prohibition era where in America where alcohol was banned and they had all these speakeasies and there was all the bootleggers moving alcohol. It didn't really change anything. And eventually they had to realize that trying to ban alcohol didn't work. And
yeah.
So mine's starting to get a little bit hot to hold at the moment.
I'm almost done as well.
Yeah. I'm struggling to hold it.
Yeah.
And smoke it. I just let it cool a fraction and have a couple more puffs, but then I think that's about it. Well, what a smoke.
What a smoke. Seriously. What a smoke.
Some really good questions in tonight's show. Great conversation.
Yeah. Very good show.
Yeah. Can't wait to see what the Maduro's like. So that means we have done the ESVs.
Yes.
We've done the 10th anniversaries. We've done the 20th anniversaries. We've done the lot 23s.
Yeah.
So the ESVs are no longer available. Their equivalent replacement at the moment is I would say the Legacy. Perdomo Legacy. So maybe at some point in the future we'll have to have a look at them. And at the PCA show that's just happened in America, they launched a new Legacy, which is Legacy Father and Son. And it's going to be a limited run every year, which is more along the lines of what the ESV was. Now, initially, they're only releasing those cigars to brick and mortars. But because they don't supply any brick and mortars in Australia with it. I'm hoping I can convince them into letting us get hold of some of that stock for future as well. So wait and see. But they said that they probably won't be available until Q4 this year. So probably sometime around October, November, December.
Wow. This is it for me almost.
Yeah, mine's just starting to turn a little bit. I've just started to get a vegetative note in it. So I think I don't want to ruin what I've experienced. I'm just going to put that down and let it burn out with dignity.
Yeah.
As is proper etiquette. We talked about etiquette before. And once you're finished with a cigar, the best thing you can do is just put it in the ashtray and let it burn itself out. In the cigar industry, it's seen as respect for the cigar, for the effort and the care that everybody who's been involved in making that cigar is, just to let it die with dignity. But also the interesting thing is, if you actually let a cigar die by sitting there and burn itself out, you don't get any terrible smells. I'm getting a nice pleasant foot smoke off it at the moment, which is very, almost making you want to pick it up and puff on it again.
Yeah.
Yeah. But if you snub out a cigar in the ashtray, you'll usually find that it ends up making quite an acrid smell, which is quite
retiring a cigar, just to retire it.
Yeah. So especially when you're around with other people, best way of not insulting their senses and the smell of the environment that you're in is just to let the cigar burn out with dignity and appreciate what you had. Anyway, that's our show for this month. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. Next month, the final cigar in the pack, and then I'll be reminding everybody what will be in the next pack, because I already announced it last pack. We were choosing between the two different packs, so I will remind everybody what's in that pack, unless, of course, I do a harebrained thing and change and do a totally different pack altogether. I'll wait and see how that turns out. We'll know in about 4 weeks' time whether I've stuck to my guns or changed my mind. So
let's figure it out.
All right. Well, thank you, everybody, for joining us. And tune in again the last Wednesday of next month for the final cigar in this pack, the Lot 23 Maduro.
That's the one. Thank you, David.
Thanks, Omar. See you then.
Over.